looking to hire your first assistant as a registered dietitian running an insurance-based private practice, but don't know where to start? Are you wondering, maybe from a veteran like myself, what key characteristics you want to be looking for in this new hire? If so, you're going to love this video. I'm Amy Plano. I am the reimbursement dietitian, and I work with thousands of registered dietitians and CNSs looking to scale their practices. And in today's video, we're going to dive deep into the characteristics you want to make sure your first hire has on your team. So let's get to it. So not all assistants are created equal. And here's what really matters when hiring. So one of the things I royally messed up when I was hiring assistants to my team is I had not yet established core values for my team. Core values are basically the reason why you exist, and they kind of provide a decision thinking tool for your practice. So number one, you want to make sure that the assistant, because they're going to be so integral to your practice, share the same core values you do as a practice and as a culture. So are they on the same wavelengths? We're not talking about playlist choices here. We're talking about values, how they operate, and what's important to you. So our core values at the Plano program are: be a good fucking human, practice a culture of candor, and then own your shit. And so those things, while seemingly are somewhat ambiguous, in my employee handbook, I provide a deep overview of what those look like and why they are important. And for me, those are critical because relative to customer success, customer service, which is what a lot of my administrative assistant does, being a good fucking human and having compassion and leading with kindness are so freaking important, especially relative to your practice. And we often want to handle our clients with kid-like gloves. And so we have to have somebody who is polite, respectful, but most importantly, kind and compassionate. So for me, core values are important not only for the dietitians I hire, also for the administrative assistants I hire as well. Number two, good communicator. I cannot drive home this point enough. The two assistants I have right now are like A++ in terms of being communicators, right? They almost over communicate, which is not a bad thing. One of the things I absolutely love about my team is at the end of the day, the end of their work day, they send me an end of day report communicating with me exactly what was done, how it was done, and then what are the follow-up things for tomorrow? What is the focus for tomorrow? So then we are always moving forward in my business. And then I know what's done. Without that end of day report and good communication, it's easy for things to get crossed, and it's easy to like kind of drop things in the bucket. So all I need to, if I say to myself, did we write this social media post? I can go into an end of day report and see very clearly, was that done? If it was done, and when. So good verbal communication, right? Because they're going to be like the forward facing piece of your practice. Written communication, because they may be exchanging texts, emails, communicating with the insurance companies. So good communication and staying on top of their communication. So you want to make sure that you define the cadence in terms of which they need to respond, right? Because I've had assistants who, like, I email them on a Thursday and they don't get back to me until like Monday afternoon. That is not okay. And the only reason why that happened was I taught people how to treat me, and I taught them that that was okay. So good communication is number two. Number three, super important, a willingness to learn. Okay. most assistants you hire to your private practice probably have never worked for a dietitian. And they may or may not have worked in a physician's office or a clinic of some sort. So they may have that experience, but they may not have the experience of working with a dietitian. And so there is going to be a learning curve in terms of how we present and train them with information, and their willingness to learn is going to be the most pivotal. My husband, I remember in the beginning of when we had my last assistant, who was absolutely incredible, said, "How is X doing?" And the first thing I said, "Well, he's doing da 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 da." And my husband's like, "Amy, like nobody is going to be perfect. His willingness to learn is the most important thing." And when I tell you this is an A plus player, I think in my mind, I was thinking that everybody needs to behave like me. But as long as somebody wants to learn and they have a willingness to learn and they ask good intentional questions and they show me they are interested in learning, that is literally half the battle, right? So that kind of leads me into the fourth key characteristic when you are hiring, and that is you want a problem solving ninja. Okay. In the beginning, when you hire an assistant, right, it's going to be a lot of superficial transactional things, right? We are going to train them, not tell them. And so hopefully in training them, they understand to some extent how our little noggins work, right? So why do I do what I do? Well, I have to teach them and not make assumptions. And so, for example, we're having an issue right now with a claim. And when I tell you my office manager has troubleshooted, is that a word? Troubleshot 100 different ways to submit this claim. They've been on the phone with Office Ally. They've been on the phone with Intake Queue. They have done everything they possibly can to solve this problem. And I think we know how to do it. And so you really want somebody who you do not need to tell how to do something. You have taught them what done looks like in your practice relative to tasks, and they don't stop until they figure it out, right? Because the reality is you as the practice owner wouldn't stop in terms of them figuring out as well. So hopefully those characteristics, kind of gave you a sense of kind of what to look for. So number one, making sure your assistant aligns perfectly with your core values. Number two, they are an excellent A plus 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 communicator. If they suck out of the gates relative to communicating, there is a good sign it is going to be a disaster, because a lot of times as practice owners, we are dealing with real-time information that needs to be processed in real time, especially customer success in customer support, right? If a patient needs to be called back within 24 hours, we want to make sure that that shit happens, right? A willingness to learn, right? They do not need to know everything, but they do need to demonstrate an eagerness to learn more. And just to give an example of my most recent amazing assistant, when he first started working for me, he asked me if he could come to office hours for my coaching RD clients so he could learn more about the ins and outs of billing. Talk about an absolute superstar. And then lastly, right, you want them to be a problem solving ninja, right? Like you really don't want them to stop until they finish the project, right? Whatever that is. And if they give up, guess what? That means you need to do it. So those are the key 4 criteria I look for when hiring assistants to my team. And when I tell you with all sincerity, I have had more bad assistants than I have had good assistants And the responsibility and blame lays with me, right? Because I did not know what I was looking for. I did not have any of these criteria in litmus test. So I really want you guys to sit down and think about what is important to you in hiring assistants. And if you guys like this video and you found it helpful, hit the subscribe button below. Every single week, we release content just like this. And if you want more real-time information, go head over to Instagram, go follow me on reimbursement_dietitian, because every single day I do my best to show up 100% for you guys and solve your biggest problems, questions, and concerns. So hopefully you guys have a great week, and I will see you guys next week.